Ignore the UK on post-Brexit trade. That is what Brussels have told EU states, according to this exclusive from The Independent. Let's go, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an exclusive from The Independent. Brussels have told the EU states to ignore the UK on post-Brexit trade. The word Brexit, guys, it won't go away, and it shouldn't go away. And we must keep talking about it because it is damaging the United Kingdom as a whole. The former European Trade Commissioner Peter Malmsten was trying to convert Brussels was always going to backfire. The EU has slapped down the UK's government after it attempted to bypass Brussels on post-Brexit trade rules. Documents obtained by The Independent showed that the European Commission was unhappy after British officials asked each member state directly about their plans to cope with new checks on goods coming to the UK. At one point, the Commission told countries in the blog to ignore the UK government completely. Then it sent a memo telling member states to provide only short general information because of the problematic nature of the British request. The Commission later warned that the UK was contacting each country directly was outside the terms of Boris Johnson's Brexit trade deal, saying it was a significant concern since a proper response to British queries should be harmonised at EU level. The rebuke emerged as Rishi Sunak's government comes under pressure from both the EU and British business bosses to spell out exactly how the latest controls on imports due to come in force in October will work. This is so embarrassing that they are so desperate to show that they are not working with the EU, that they're so disconnected from the European Union, that they're willing to talk to the nations behind the backs of the EU to try and paint this picture that they are completely sovereign, completely independent of the EU. Instead of actually being grown adults and talking with them about this situation, about how they can reduce the situation, and they know how to do it. Instead, what they're doing is going behind their back, and it's so disrespectful. It is completely and totally disrespectful to the European Union to go behind their backs to the other to the nations on this issue. It's just absolutely, the disrespect is beyond belief. Peter Malmsten, the former business secretary who served as EU Trade Commissioner from 2004-2008, said trying to accommodate Brussels was always going to backfire. He told The Independent, "It is tempting to try and go around the Commission, but this doesn't work and it is counterproductive. The British government should be doubling down on a good relationship with the Commission and building trust. Britain desperately needs this in order to mitigate our losses in trade." So this is apparently a message to the Commission states, apparently. And it says here, it is in small print, but I'll read it out for you. So, message from the Commission Service. In relation to a message the UK addressed to Member States requesting them to fill in an online questionnaire on their capacity to issue sanitary and phytosanitary SPS export certificates for products destined to Great Britain from October 2023, the Commission Service would like to inform delegations that a message has been addressed to the UK co-chair of the Trade Specialist Committee on SPS measures, asking clarification on the purpose of the request, expressing concerns on the process chosen and on the relevance of the information requested. Until the UK provides us with the requested clarifications and the reason and the reaction is properly coordinated at EU level, Member States are advised not to respond to online questionnaires requested by the UK. Trade experts also said they have been unwise to try and go around Brussels chiefs, and that indecisive is still a struggling relationship ahead of another mounting of red tape for businesses across the continent to navigate. One food industry expert says the memo showed unhelpful friction between the UK and EU at a time when they should be working together to avoid major disruption later this year. The issue began on the 2nd of June when officials from the UK's Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, DEFRA, sent a message to EU member states asking each to fill out a questionnaire on their readiness to deal with the new controls on food and agriculture trade. A week later, on the 9th of June, a memo from the European Commission forwarded to Member States diplomats by officials from the Council of the European Union and passed on to Independents warned Member States are advised not to respond to online questionnaires requested by the UK. On the same day, an official at DG Sanet, the Commission's Health Directive, wrote to officials at DEFRA warning against the use of channels outside the UK-EU trade agreement for communicating on such matters. So this here This paper is intended for a specific community of recipes, handling and further distribution under the sole responsibility of community members. This is from the General Secretary of the Council to the Working Party on Plans of Plant Health and Questions to Rosendale Group, the Working Party on Animals and Veterinary Questions to Potsdam Group. The title is the Potsdam and Rosendale Message from the Commission on UK's Information Request on EU Member States Certified Capacity. Delegates will find in Annex information shared by the Commission Service in the above mentioned subject. In a follow-up memo, members sent to Member State by the Commission on 21st of June said the countries wishing to respond should avoid giving too much detail. They're asking states to go behind the EU's back, which is stupid. It is ridiculous. This whole thing is just, it's so insulting. After telling members of the blog that it was harmonising communication with the UK, the Commission then shared its own list of more than 70 questions for London, grilling British officials on preparations for the import controls set to come into force on the 31st of October. The Independent understands that the British government explained to Brussels that it was willing to work through the EU Commission, but David Haig, a director of European Centre for International Political Economics, said UK officials have known that Brussels coordinate member states' response to avoid any potential divisions on the Brexit issue. The Brexit expert said, "It looks unwise for the UK to have approached the issue in this way, something that could damage the trust we need." Mr. Hine added that the row was symbolic of a still struggling relationship. "It's more friction that we don't need." Dr. Kirsty Hughes, director of the Scottish Centre on European Relations, said the memos appeared to show the EU advising member states that if they're given the unintentional impression they are fully ready, then the UK might use that to blame them if there is disruption. Yeah, I think it's a scapegoat for the UK to try and say that, for them to try and point the finger at the EU and all this. Anything to make the government look innocent. David Davis, the UK's first Brexit secretary, who led the talks with the EU from 2016 to 2018, told the Independent that it was unlikely to be the last time something like this occurred. "This is going to happen time and time again in the coming years. Good diplomacy tries to understand the person you are negotiating with or dealing with. Always. So you're going to be in a run for this and the Commission for this part. Perfectly properly is always going to try and maintain a common front." That's what comes out of these things. It certainly isn't the first time, and it certainly won't be the last time it happens, I'm sure. Mr. Davis added, "It's ever the way the EU is always suspicious of any direct talking to member states." Recalling his own experiences during negotiations, Mr. Davis told the Independent, "At that time, we were suspicious that we were trying to undermine their common position, which we were. We were just simply trying to find out what the priorities of different member states were." So Malcolm Rathcliffe said the EU is properly corrected, but that the Commission should not be so bureaucratic about it. Well, you shouldn't be going behind their back, should they? Trade is an EU responsibility, not the responsibility of individual member states. So to be strictly correct, the proper communication should be with the EU people responsible for trade, he said, adding, "They could have treated it a bit more lightly. It's not exactly a capital offence." Again, you went behind their back. Brexiteer John Redwood argued that it was in the EU's interest to take a more condescending approach. Considering your attitude towards the European Union, I don't blame them for being a little bit firm on the matter, if I'm honest. The EU seems to be unfriendly when it would be more sensible for them to be cooperative. You chose to go behind their back. As they export a lot more of us than we export to them, he said, "I think the EU should understand that we voted to leave and they should treat us as if we were still in the thing." No. They should treat us if we were still in the thing. No, that's not how it works. We're not part of the group anymore. What's the matter with you, John? You're not getting it. We want to be free of their jurisdiction. We want to make our own way in the world. I think Britain should do whatever Britain wants to do. And you're going about it the right way. Not really going about it the right way, guys. Fellow Brexit backer Craig McCalleen also defended the government's action, saying the UK is the single biggest and most profitable trading partners and for many EU countries. That, ladies and gentlemen, is called a lie. As we introduce a repile of border checks for imports, which is reasonable for DEFRA and the Department of Business and Trade to wish to make future trade as seamless as possible, hence their approach for EU countries directly. The missive sent by EU Commissions to Member States serves as an example of the absolute control that it wishes to exert across its empire. It's not an empire. Oh my god. Empire. What is this rhetoric? It's out of order, this rhetoric. Former Brexit Minister Jacob Rees-Mogg described the memos as a storm in a teacup, but reinstated his objections to check themselves. I don't think we should be imposing these controls at all, he told The Independent. I managed when I was Brexit Opportunities Minister. I'm still waiting for those opportunities to delay them because they would purely impose cost on the British consumer for no real advantage. It seems to be more of a protectionist measure designed to make trade more difficult and not in the interest of the UK economy. I wouldn't bother with these checks. They're pointless, and without an inflationary time it costs British consumers we could do without. Britain's food and logistic leaders have warned that the coming wave of post-Brexit red tape could cause disruption and worsen the inflation crisis by pushing up food prices at the supermarket. It will do all this. Shane Brennan, Chief Executive of the Cold Chain Federation, warned that there is still a lot of uncertainty and confusion among European businesses about the certificates they will need and how border controls will operate. They're not confident it will go smoothly, he said. He added that the unhelpful friction had come at a time when the UK business and Portuguese are livid and they don't have enough information from the government on how to import checks are supposed to work. There's going to be a period of disruption and paralyse, he told The Independent. There's so many unanswered questions, yet again we're going to have to deal with it when it comes. It's a complete mess. Mr Brennan said he still isn't clear exactly which types of food and agricultural goods will fall into the low, medium and high risk categories, each of which demands a different set of controls, although DEFRA has provided outlines as part of the target operating module. He also said it isn't clear which digital forms will have to be uploaded to the British government's website from the 31st of October, given the autumn start date was supposed to represent a soft launch, and that some physical inspections won't begin until January. An EU official said it's up to the UK to draw up workable import regimes taking into account significant volumes of export from the EU to the UK. Nevertheless, the Commission is in close contact with EU authorities and Member States in order to understand the consequences and requirements in result in the future implementation of the border targeting operating model for the EU. A government spokesperson said the targeting operating model will transform the UK's border controls and create a new world-class system to provide protection from security and biosecurity threats. Yeah, okay. They said the system will prevent delays at the border through a reduction in need for physical checks by ensuring that checks will take place away from ports, which is needed to allow traffic to flow freely. The spokesperson added, "We continue to engage extensively with the industry and will publish the target operating model shortly." Still keeping people waiting. But this whole going behind their back sort of thing, this is just like, for me, it's just so pathetic. It really, really is, guys. And I just think, why are they doing this, guys? Why can we not? I just felt like that they are doing this with the, not for the benefit of the people, but for the benefit of, as it says in there, it's looking like they're trying to, when this all kicks off in October, they're going to look to try and point the finger at the EU, saying this is their fault again. When it is, they can, there's only so much that the EU can prepare businesses on their side to do in this with this. This is down to the British government. They're advocating, trying so hard to avoid any responsibility of this. British businesses must be tearing their absolute hair out over this. There's still so many questions about this when this all comes into force as well. It's just not good. This red tape that we've implemented on ourselves is only going to get worse. And to go behind the EU is just ridiculous. Like, if I just don't see the benefit of it at all, and it's just frankly insulting and disrespectful. And for one of the MPs to call it an empire, which is absolute freaking nonsense as well. What do you guys think of this exclusive from The Independent? Are you surprised by the tactics of the British government, that they would stoop this low? I think you guys know the answer to that one. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think. Like, share and subscribe as always, and I will catch you all very, very soon.